Hello, I'm CGTN's Paulo Cabral here in Brasilia, exactly on the square of the three powers, or the square of the three branches. It's the seat for the three branches of Brazil's government. Right here we have the National Congress, and we're going to talk about the storming of the public buildings here in Brasilia by far-right pro-Bolsonaro protesters who attacked these three buildings. And if you look there, you can just see here the destruction, all the glasses that have been broken. You see the books already there. These people are working now on assessing the damage, also beginning to clean up and preparing, of course, the renovation of this area. And this is all these three buildings have this kind of scenario, this kind of destruction, and even more inside. So things began on Sunday here in the building of the National Congress. If you were watching the pictures on Sunday, you remember that this was full of people right here, the roof of the National Congress, the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate. So this is where the attack began, and then the protesters went down to the square of the three powers, square of the three branches, and there to the left is the Planalto Palace, the presidential palace, also stormed by the protesters. And then if we go across the square, then we have on the right-hand side the building of Brazil's Supreme Court. And this one is the one that's, from outside we can see apparently it's the worst damaged one. All the windows are broken there. Again, people there now assessing the damage and preparing to rebuild this. And several signs of the conflict that happened, of the invasion that happened yesterday here. I found that there are quite a few of this around here. This is a shell of the rubber bullet used to stop the protesters yesterday by the police here. Quite a few of these around here on the ground we could see. So things are quiet now right here. The buildings are again under control of the authorities. The actual occupation invasion lasted for about 4-5 hours on Sunday, but the situation is still very tense and very busy in the cabinet's offices and courts here in Brasilia as the government prepares and executes the response to the storming of the three public buildings here in Brasilia. On Sunday itself, according to the authorities, about 200 people have been arrested, and government officials have been referring to them as terrorists. That includes Justice Minister Flávio Dino and also the President of Brazil's Supreme Court, Justice Rosa Weber, saying that it was an act of terrorism and that these people will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Also, this has motivated Brazilian authorities to order the removal of pro-Bolsonaro far-right protesters that had been camping in front of military headquarters all over Brazil, demanding military intervention to remove President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva from office as they consider his election illegitimate. Jair Bolsonaro, the former president, is in the United States. He tweeted on Sunday a condemnation of these attacks, saying that violent attacks like this are a thing of the left wing and not of our group, and that this was an exception. So he did condemn the attack, but at the same time he attacked the left wing. And then on Monday we have the news that Bolsonaro was admitted to a hospital in the United States feeling abdominal pain, supposedly connected to the stabbing of which he was victim in the 2018 presidential campaign. Right now, it's not clear whether Bolsonaro would have any impact if he tried to speak to his base here in Brazil, as many of his supporters have been saying, and we see that a lot on social media where the Brazilian right wing is very active. Many of his supporters are actually disappointed in Bolsonaro because he kept silent for most of the time after his electoral defeat, and then on the eve of Lula da Silva's inauguration he went to the United States. So many of the supporters here in Brazil, of former Bolsonaro supporters, now say that they want military intervention, that they do not accept Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva as president, but not necessarily demanding the return of Jair Bolsonaro to power. I'm CGTN's Paulo Cabral in Brasilia, Brazil's capital.